For 3 centuries, Earth was silent. The galaxy labeled them extinct, erased their name from the stars. But in the cold dark, the last humans weren't waiting to be saved, they were preparing to end everything. Now, a single human voice has echoed across the void. The message? We are awake. And we are coming. They called it the Silent Planet. For 300 years, Earth said nothing. No signals. No trade. No alliances. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. The Velorith Dominion, bloated with its own conquest, labeled Earth a dead world and wiped its name from galactic maps. Silence was the final tombstone. Until now. The council hall shimmered under the heavy blue suns of Velorith Prime, the air thick with arrogance and polished fear. Thousands of delegates from dozens of species sat in the ring chamber, as the emergency signal replayed again and again over the hologrid. A simple message, encoded in dead Terran dialects, yet vibrating with something primal. We are awake. We are coming. The assembled warlords laughed nervously. They dismissed it as a hoax, a rogue transmission caught in cosmic drift. But somewhere deep in the marrow of every creature present, an old instinct stirred. The memory of a predator they thought extinct. High Warlord Karzak slammed his warhammer against the marble dais, shattering the unease. Earth is dust, he roared, voice amplified by sonic implants. The council decreed it so. This is an insult to our dominion. Dispatch an expeditionary fleet. Find the source. Burn whatever still crawls in that dirt. The council voted unanimously. Earth would be reminded of its place, in ashes. 400 Dominion warships screamed toward the Sol system at maximum velocity, banners of conquest unfurled in their slipstream. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Earth had dared speak again. The audience of the stars leaned in. And then the fleet disappeared. Not defeated. Not damaged. Simply gone. No distress signals. No wreckage. No survivors. One ship limped back weeks later, hull scorched, crew driven mad with terror. The captain, a hardened Xeric veteran whose species prided itself on fearlessness, clawed at his own scales, screaming one phrase before dying of a burst heart. They are not what we remember. Velorith Prime descended into a chaos of rumors and panic. The council convened again, their arrogance now brittle. New votes were cast. A second fleet, larger, deadlier, would be assembled, reinforced with every known superweapon. Earth would not just be punished. It would be erased so completely that even the atoms would weep. Hidden under the dead ice of Antarctica, buried 100 miles deep in the last Arc Bastion, humanity stirred for the first time in centuries. Commander Alaric Kale stood at the command table, clad in matte black armor laced with obsidian nanofibers. His body was a weapon, his mind, a scalpel honed through the frozen decades of simulation warfare. His eyes burned with cold precision as he read the transmission streams. Dominion fleets mobilizing. Intoned Nemesis, the ship's AI, cold and elegant. Estimated time to Sol, 4 cycles. Kale's lip curled into something that was not a smile. Good. Let them come. It's been too long since we sharpened our knives. All around him, the bastion roared to life. Massive dreadnoughts, sleek and black as void serpents, rose from cryobirths. Squadrons of Grave Dancer operatives flexed in their exosuits, weapons humming with lethal potential. Humanity had spent 3 centuries perfecting weapons the galaxy had never imagined. Gravity-fold cannons, phase shifters, mind-claw algorithms capable of inducing madness in enemy command structures. They had watched. They had learned. They had prepared. Kale strode through the hangar, each step a measured act of inevitability. Engineers and soldiers snapped salutes as he passed. Humanity's last and greatest predator was awake. He boarded the Vigilant Revenant, the deadliest ghost ship ever forged, its hull lined with cloaking membranes and quantum distortion arrays. As the ship lifted silently from the ice, Kale opened a calm channel to Earth's surviving arc bastions. "We are not here to negotiate," he said, voice steady as iron. "We are not here to plead for survival. We are here to remind them why the stars feared us before they even knew our names. The vigilant revenant vanished into slip space without a ripple. No warnings. No declarations of war. Silence remained humanity's sharpest blade. Across the Dominion, panic reached a fever pitch. Systems locked down. Merchant guilds abandoned their routes. Border worlds fell into lawless anarchy. Because Earth had spoken once, and then sent nothing more. The galaxy didn't understand it yet. Earth wasn't just awake. Earth had transcended fear, transcended anger, transcended the petty need for revenge. Humanity had become something the galaxy wasn't equipped to fight: patient, perfect predators. In the council hall, a desperate transmission from the outer colonies arrived. A single phrase, repeated again and again, full of static but undeniable. They are here, inside us, already. Velareth Prime's defense grids activated too late. Entire orbital fleets turned their guns inward, as Dominion warships, infected by invisible human nanoviruses, self-destructed in synchronized, fiery deaths. On the deck of the Vigilant Revenant, Kale watched the data streams with clinical detachment. The first dominoes had fallen. Dominion morale would collapse within cycles. Phase 2, Kale ordered. Deploy Black Echo. A wave of psychoacoustic pulses rode through the subspace currents, sowing terror across alien communication networks. Leaders heard phantom screams in their sleep. Armies abandoned posts. Even battle-hardened species wept and clawed at their own flesh, driven mad by sounds only they could hear. Kale folded his arms behind his back, staring out into the blackness. They wanted silence, he murmured. We gave them silence. Now they'll drown in the sound of their own dying. The Dominion wasn't fighting an enemy. It was fighting extinction itself. And extinction wore a human face. The Dominion Annihilation Armada surged toward Sol space with supreme confidence. 2,000 ships. 17 warbreed legions. Their doctrine was simple: overkill ensured obedience. Yet as they crossed the orb boundary, confidence bled into confusion. We have no visual on enemy forces, a Velareth captain snarled, his scaled fist slamming into the hollow console. Scanners detect nothing but ghost signals. They pressed on. The system's outer moons remained barren. Space seemed empty. A calculated nothingness. The fleet tightened formation. That was their first mistake. The Vigilant Revenant hung unseen among the shadows, quantum cloaks distorting every particle of its presence. Commander Alaric Kale stood calm as Nemesis fed him the battlefield data. Dominion ships floated fat and blind before him. Ghost fleet in position, Nemesis whispered. Permission to begin Operation Wraithfall. Kale's voice was a razor-slicing silk. Commence. Without a single shot fired, the nightmare began. Dominion dreadnoughts suddenly found their systems corrupted. Propulsion vanished. Shields failed. Weapons fired into empty space or worse, into friendly ships. Panic spread like wildfire. Crew members reported intruders that sensors couldn't track. Whole decks depressurized without warning. On board Vigilant Revenant, the Grave Dancers deployed. Coated in adaptive phase armor, they breached Dominion hulls in perfect synchronization, emerging silently from nothingness. Dominion warriors barely had time to react before they were butchered in cold, methodical close combat. Contact, Deck 5! Screamed a Dominion officer before his transmission dissolved into static and blood. Kale watched unblinking as ship after ship blinked off the grid. The enemy wasn't fighting an armada. They were drowning in ghosts. On the bridge of the Dominion flagship Vorix Fist, Warlord Karzak's subordinate trembled as reports flooded in. They're inside us, they're everywhere, they're not real, they vanish into walls. Karzak's reptilian eyes narrowed. His massive claws crushed the datapad. You call yourselves warriors? I'll gut the first coward who speaks of phantoms again. A Grave Dancer operative emerged silently behind the bridge crew, drove a monomolecular blade into the calm officer's throat, then vanished through the bulkhead as alarms screamed. The body hit the floor before anyone moved. Kale's voice cut into the Dominion channels, smooth and cold. You invaded the cradle of predators. Your mistake. Karzak's snarl froze. That voice was human. It should not exist. Kale activated full-spectrum disruption. Dominion ships spun out of control. Engines overloaded. Warp cores imploded. All across the Armada, vessels were systematically erased as human tech bent reality to shred them. We're losing cohesion, barked a fleet commander. I need orders. Karzak bared his teeth. Form on me. We fight or we die. Too late. The second wave struck. From nowhere, an entire human strike fleet decloaked, sleek angular ships painted in black void composites. They opened fire with directed gravity lances. Dominion vessels crumpled like tin under infinite mass distortions. Armor buckled, breaking apart at molecular levels. Escape pods were yanked back and vaporized. The vigilant revenant sliced through debris fields like a predator through a school of blind fish. Inside his command chair, Kale showed no mercy. Execute Protocol Sunder. Nemesis obeyed. The final horror unfolded. Human mind-claw algorithms leapt across Dominion communication relays, injecting weaponized code into every ship network. Crews collapsed screaming, assaulted by cascading neurofeedback loops. Some clawed at their own eyes. Others begged for death. We're being attacked from within, Karzak howled. Shut down all systems! Cut all connections! But disconnection came with its own price. Ships drifted powerlessly in the dark, exposed, easy prey. On the Revenant Bridge, grave dancer strike captains reported in. 30% of enemy fleet disabled. Remaining ships trapped between field distortions and virus lockouts. Kale nodded once. Broadcast. A single message flooded the Dominion fleet. You have entered Sol space uninvited. This is your first and final lesson. Flee now or be erased. Warlord Karzak stared at the blinking message on his main screen. He trembled. His crew trembled. But pride poisoned his judgment. We stand! He roared. No human tells the Dominion when to crawl! The fleet regrouped for one final charge. Kale leaned forward, eyes cold with the weight of his species' history. So be it. He signaled the third wave. From the blackness, cloaked Terran dreadnoughts uncloaked like leviathans from myth, armed with planet-killer weapons forbidden by every galactic treaty. Their weapons charged silently. The Dominion charge collapsed under waves of gravity implosions, spatial rupture torpedoes, and energy cascades that simply unmade matter. Ship after ship vanished under the most efficient slaughter the galaxy had ever witnessed. In minutes, 2,000 ships had become wreckage. Only Vorex's fist remained, drifting powerless. Kale ordered his ship forward until they hovered nose to nose across the silent gulf. Karzak stood on his bridge staring at death. Kale activated an open channel. This was never a war, Kale said icily. This was a correction. Karzak, blood dripping from his jaw, snarled back. You will not break the Dominion. Kale's voice was low and final. There is no Dominion. The Revenant's forward battery fired once. Vorex's fist disintegrated in perfect silence. Kale turned away as the last burning fragments faded into cold void. Nemesis spoke softly. Objective complete. The enemy has been unmade. Kale didn't respond immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the stars, emotionless. Transmit to the galaxy, he said at last. Phase 1 concluded. Let them know, Earth is awake. The Galactic Council had never been silent. But now, the chamber was frozen in suffocating dread. The assembled species, from towering insectogereth to telepathic Ilari, stared at the single figure who strode through the center of the grand hall with unshaken calm. Black armor whispered against obsidian tiles. The predator had entered the den. Alaric Kale walked alone. High Warlord Shar of the Velarith, bloated with rage and desperation, pounded a clawed fist onto the dais. You have no right to stand here, human! You are an extinction myth! You are nothing! Kale's voice, cold as vacuum, silenced the chamber. If I am nothing, why are your fleets gone? The question struck like a weapon. Murmurs rippled like panic through prey. The Dominion armada had vanished without survivors. The Council knew it, but none dared speak it aloud. Kale advanced, boots deliberate, eyes lethal. You sent death to our doorstep. We returned it. You declared humanity extinct. Now you stand trial for your arrogance. Shara's voice cracked with venom. You cannot threaten the Council. The Dominion controls 90% of known space. Kale's gaze never wavered. Correction. Controlled. Past tense. Nemesis fed him real-time data. Planetary revolts spreading across the rim. Dominion command collapsing. Entire sectors defecting. Fear had infected the Empire's heart. An Ilari delegate, shimmering in pale blue light, rose trembling. You must understand. Earth's silence was viewed as surrender. Kale's lips curled into something close to disgust. Earth's silence was patience. The apex predator never announces the hunt. The Jareth overlord clicked mandibles anxiously. What do you want? Kale stepped forward, armor absorbing the chamber's harsh lighting like liquid void. His voice carried the weight of humanity's wrath. You have two choices. Kneel and survive under the Terran Accord. Or refuse and cease to exist. Laughter burst from the far side. Towering above lesser species, Warlord Karzak of the Dominion strode in, defying death rumors. His scaled frame rippled with combat scars, eyes burning with hatred. I live, human. You failed. Kale didn't flinch. You exist. There's a difference. Karzak lunged, claws outstretched, mouth open in a bellow of primal fury. The Council gasped. Kale sidestepped smoothly. His gauntlet struck like a piston. Karzak's skull cracked audibly under the force. The Dominion warlord staggered, dazed. A second blow shattered his chest plate. Karzak dropped to his knees, gasping in agony. Kale stood over him without mercy. You invaded the wrong world. With a final twist, Kale drove his boot into the alien's sternum. Bones snapped. The mighty warlord collapsed in a heap, still. No one moved. No one breathed. Kale's voice lashed the chamber. Let this be your final example. There will be no debates. No appeals. Earth does not negotiate with those who attempt genocide. The Ilari Prime Counselor broke the paralysis. What is the Terran Accord? Kale activated a flick of his wrist. A massive hologram burst into existence above the chamber. Images of captured war crimes, slavery breeding farms, Dominion orbital bombardments, forced extinction campaigns against lesser races. All crimes catalogued in perfect human clarity. You rule by terror, Kale said. We rule by memory. Silence crushed the room. Delegates sat stunned, some visibly sickened. The truth had detonated among them like a weapon. Revolts would spread faster now. Empires would fracture by dawn. Kale stared at them, unblinking. The Terran Accord is simple. You will cease conquest. You will dismantle the Dominion. You will purge all slave systems. You will withdraw from annexed territories. You will never threaten Earth or any species under our protection. Violate it once. The hollow image shifted to footage of the vigilant Revenant eviscerating Dominion dreadnoughts with gravity weapons. And we will remind you what extinction feels like. A grizzled Ketheri admiral, scarred and missing an eye, dared to speak. If we comply, what does Earth want? Kale's voice was death made civilized. Nothing. The Council whispered among themselves in disbelief. We do not want your planets, Kale continued. We do not want tribute. We do not want seats at your table. We want only this, to teach you to fear the cost of forgetting who the predators are. The last words hung heavy like a blade ready to fall. The Ilari Prime nodded slowly. You leave us no alternative. Kale folded his arms. Good choice. In the background, Nemesis relayed the final update. 17 systems have declared independence in the last hour. Dominion Command Authority rated at 12% and falling. Kale turned to leave. His last glance swept over the cowed assembly. You sent fleets to destroy Earth. Earth sent back one man. Without another word, He strode through the silent chamber, footsteps echoing like gunshots. Behind him, the galactic order unraveled. Nemesis spoke in Kale's ear with perfect calm. Incoming. Unmarked ships. Energy signatures Ilari. Kale's eyes narrowed. Allies don't approach under cloak. The vigilant revenant floated above Velarith Prime's orbit in silent observation. Until now. Sensors flared violently. The Ilari task group decloaked like serpents in the dark. Nemesis confirmed the unthinkable. Ilari warcloaks. Breach squads mobilizing. They are attempting forced boarding. Kale's voice hardened into cold steel. Initiate lockdown. Deploy Gravedancer detachments. Wipe them. The hull reverberated as enemy ships latched on with magnetic anchors. Interior alarms blared. Kale moved through the corridors like a black shadow. Gravedancers raced to intercept. The first Ilari squads emerged into the Revenant's cold gray corridors. Tall, elegant figures in iridescent battle armor, wielding energy glaives designed to kill at close range. They expected chaos. They found hunters. The Gravedancers struck first. Human soldiers wearing living micromesh armor flickered out of cloaking mode mid-stride. Monomolecular blades sliced through the vacuum-silent dark. The Ilari commander had a second to whisper. Impossible! Before his throat was opened. Kale moved like death incarnate. One Ilari assassin lunged. Kale caught the wrist, twisted savagely until bones snapped, then rammed his combat blade under the alien's jaw and through the soft palate. The body fell without sound. Nemesis reported dispassionately. Multiple breach teams neutralized. 4 remain. Heavy casualties among Ilari. Kale strode forward through blood-slicked corridors littered with alien corpses. Not enough. The main reactor corridor breached. An elite squad of Ilari enforcers advanced under energy shields. Gravedancer rounds splintered against their barrier wall. The squad pressed forward, elegant killers with perfect formations. They made it 15 meters. Kale stepped out of the gloom behind them. With a single gesture, his gravity anchor detonated. The enforcers rose screaming into the ceiling as localized fields inverted. Bones shattered under uncontrolled acceleration. The survivors drifted helpless, only to be shredded by Gravedancer knives midair. More intruders pressed into the cryocore. Ilari elites hacked through security doors with plasma cutters. They did not notice the tiny black drones sliding from the vents until it was too late. Nemesis announced the kill. Black Echo dispersed. Neural disruption initiated. The aliens dropped their weapons instantly, shrieking as invisible waves triggered cascading nerve spasms. Some convulsed until their spines snapped. The rest lay twitching wrecks on the steel floor. Kale stepped over the broken bodies, cold eyes sweeping for threats. He activated external comms. To all Ilari vessels attempting unauthorized boarding, evacuate immediately or be annihilated. No response. Cowards or fools. Kale activated the forward rail batteries. Nemesis whispered. Firing solution acquired. Kale gave the word. Engage. The vigilant revenant unleashed silent death. Kinetic slugs accelerated to relativistic speeds tore through the Ilari warships in clean, clinical lines. Hulls split open like fruit under a knife. Escape pods ejected but were vaporized before clearing blast radius. The battle lasted less than 3 minutes. The Revenant's crew fell silent. The only sound was Nemesis calculating debris trajectories. All threats eliminated. 0 survivors. Kale stood motionless. His voice was an executioner's sentence. Transmit. A single data packet blazed across the Council's emergency channels. Footage of the attempted betrayal. The Ilari bodies. The cold surgical retribution. Kale's final message cut across every screen in the galaxy. The Terran Accord is not a request. There are no second warnings. Velarith Council delegates watched in stunned horror. The betrayal had been witnessed by every system. The Ilari Prime collapsed in shame before his peers. Kale stared at the fading display. His voice, when it came, was lower and colder than ever before. You reminded us why we stand alone. You reminded us why we win alone. Nemesis confirmed. Galactic subspace networks report mass unrest. Multiple alliances with the Ilari now dissolved. Ilari homeworld broadcasting unconditional apology. Kale stared into the void. His words barely a whisper. Too late. The grave dancer captain approached, visor still slick with enemy blood. Orders? Kale's answer was absolute. We finished the mission. No mercy. No hesitation. The vigilant revenant shifted course, engines silent and merciless. Its black hole vanished once again into the cold darkness between stars. Humanity's ghost had returned to hunting. The council hall of Velarith Prime trembled with tension. Never in galactic history had the assembled species been so unified in terror. Delegates sat motionless under the flickering emergency lights, eyes locked on the towering central holoscreen. The feed showed the cold void of space. A single line of text pulsed ominously. Incoming transmission. Origin Earth. The image shifted. Commander Alaric Kale stood alone, the black void of deep space stretching behind him. His expression was iron. His voice struck like a hammer. This is Commander Kale of Earth's Bastion Confederacy. 300 years ago, you declared us dead. You sent fleets to end what you believed was already over. You failed. What you mistook for surrender was preparation. What you called extinction was evolution. No one in the chamber breathed. Even the Velarith Warlord Council, normally defiant, sat frozen under Kale's cold gaze. Kale's tone sharpened. The galaxy is watching. The Dominion is shattered. The Ilari betrayed us and paid in full. You have one chance to survive. He gestured, and the stars themselves seemed to twist. The holofeed zoomed out. Gasps rippled across the chamber. Thousands of ships silently decloaked across the galactic map. Earth's fleets. Dark titans emerging like predatory leviathans from the shadows. Every system, every sector, surrounded. Impossible, the Jareth delegate whispered. Kale heard. We have watched you since you forgot us. We mapped your weaknesses. Your leaders. Your fail-safes. Your hidden war vaults. We left nothing unseen. The Ilari Prime tried to speak. Kale cut him off with a single sentence. You do not speak. You listen. The silence that followed was absolute. Kale raised his gauntlet hand. A final message played behind him. Grave Dancer operations. Fleets dissolving into nothingness. Entire Dominion sectors surrendering without a fight. Unmatched, unchallenged, unrelenting. This is what Earth can do with a single fleet. The holofeed shifted again. Earth's homeworld, once thought a barren wasteland, appeared lush, alive, transformed into a fortress world of unimaginable technology. Towering bastion citadels, orbital rail networks, shielded cities buried beneath layers of defense. The planet itself weaponized. Kale's voice lowered into something more terrifying than rage, calm certainty. You will dismantle the Dominion. You will free all enslaved worlds. You will pay restitution to those you oppressed. You will never again threaten Earth or any protectorate under the Terran Accord. If you hesitate, if you delay, if you so much as whisper defiance. The image zoomed to the lead ship of Earth's fleet. The vigilant revenant, dark and flawless, weapons humming like the breath of a sleeping predator. We will return. And there will be no survivors. The council shook. Some delegates broke down weeping. Others collapsed into their seats, unable to speak. The Ilari Prime simply bowed his head in utter defeat. Kale waited. Finally, the Velarith warlord Shar stood, trembling but defiant. You demand we kneel without condition. Why not finish us now? Kale met his eyes with surgical coldness. We are not you. The words cut deeper than any weapon. The message was clear. Earth could annihilate them, but chose not to. They ruled by fear of what remained unseen. Nemesis whispered in Kale's ear. Final reports, 90% of former Dominion worlds are broadcasting acceptance of the Accord. Remaining sectors requesting terms. No signs of organized resistance. Kale responded aloud, for all to hear. Broadcast to all systems. Operation Revenant is concluded. The galaxy belongs to no empire. Balance is restored. The delegates sat in stunned silence. In one campaign, without conquering a single world, Earth had unmade a galactic superpower. Without ceremony, Kale turned his back to the council. Nemesis spoke again. Request for closing statement. Kale stopped at the chamber threshold. His voice echoed across the galaxy. You feared our silence. You feared what it meant. You were right. He stepped through the portal, vanishing into shadow. Across the stars, Earth's fleets faded once more into invisibility, leaving only the chilling certainty that they could return at any moment. They did not occupy. They did not gloat. They simply vanished back into the black. The galaxy had been spared. But the fear remained. Earth had spoken. And now the galaxy listened,